Hi everyone, welcome to Curious Minds Academy. Now that we have completed one section, I think it's time to move on to the practice questions. And I think many of you have tried these practice questions and may have got the right answer. Then it's well and good you have got your concepts crystal clear. And if you are not getting the right answers, then it's okay. This session is going to help you. What we are going to do in this session, we are going to attempt those practice questions and identify the concepts behind that, understand why the right answers are right and why the wrong answers are wrong. So without wasting any time, let's get into the first question. Question number 1. The difference between morality and virtue is: morality refers to simply applying those ethical principles. There are some ethical principles laid down. I simply chose to adopt it and apply it in a circumstances. It doesn't come from within. It comes from an external source. And what does virtue mean? Virtue refers to the characteristics of an individual. Suppose if I say a man is honest, a man is kind, it refers to the values that are within him. It refers to the characteristics that are within him, and it comes from within, and that is what is called virtue. So morality simply means application of ethical principles, and virtue refers to the characteristics of an individual. So option A, morality is the application of ethical principles, whereas virtues are the characteristics of morality of an individual, seems to be the right answer. Option A is the right answer to this question. Now let's see why the other three options are wrong. Option B, virtues are application of ethical principle. Virtues are not the applications of ethical principles. Just now we said it is morality that is the application of ethical principles, whereas morality is the characteristics of an ethical individual. So option B is wrong. Option C is morality is the understanding of what is right and wrong. Morality is not the understanding of what is right and wrong. That is called ethics. Ethics is the understanding, or ethics is the field of study that determines what is right or wrong, what is acceptable or not, or what is appropriate or not. So it is the field of study, and that field of study is called ethics and not the morality. So option C is also wrong. Option D, morality and virtue are synonymous and can be used interchangeably. Morality and virtue are not synonymous. They cannot be used interchangeably because of the different meanings assigned to it. So option D is also wrong. The answer to this question is option A, morality is the application of ethical principles, whereas virtues are the characteristics of morality of an individual. So now let's get into question number 2. The branch of moral philosophy in which a decision is right if a virtuous person would do the same in the same circumstances is: understand what do you mean by virtue ethics. What a virtuous person would have done in the same circumstance. If I also chose to do the same action that a virtuous person does, then that action I can say it is ethical. If I chose to have an opposite course of action as to what a virtuous person would have done, then that action is unethical. So that's what virtue ethics advocates. And let's see the other options. Option A is justice. Justice means ensuring fairness in everything to everyone. That's what justice mean. Virtue ethics, I have told you. See teleology. What does teleology imply? Teleology means that here we are taking a decision, and this decision leads to result. Teleology advocates that if this result is a good result, then this decision is ethical, and if this result is a bad result, then this decision is unethical. So whether this decision is ethical or not is tied up to this result. If it is a good result, then it is ethical, and if it is a bad result, then it is unethical. So ultimately it depends upon this final result to conclude whether this decision is ethical or not. That's what teleology implies, and teleology, as we can see, is not the right answer to this question. And option D, deontology. Deontology is exactly the opposite of teleology. Teleo and deontology are the exact opposite. And what does deontology advocates? Deontology doesn't have any connection with the final result. Whether it is good result or bad result, deontology doesn't care. Deontology only concerns with this decision itself. If this decision is right in itself, then it is ethical. If this decision is not right, then it is unethical. It is as simple as that, and it doesn't have any connection with the final result. And that's the reason why I say teleology and deontology are exactly the opposite. And in MCQ there have been questions coming whether teleology and deontology are same or synonymous or opposite what it is. So you can say that teleology and deontology are exactly the opposites. And the answer to this question number 2 is option B, virtue ethics. Moving on to question number 3. Relativism is the branch of moral philosophy that... Now let's revise what relativism means. Relativism simply means that what is ethical to me may not be ethical to you. What is ethical in one culture may not be ethical in another. It varies from places to place, country to country, or from people to people. So it is purely relative. I cannot say that there is a universally accepted right thing. There is no universally right thing as per relativism. There is no universally wrong thing as well. It varies from places to places, culture to culture, or country to country. So that's how it got its name, relativism. It's purely relative. So let's see what the options are. Option A regards the moral good as derived from the outcome of an action or decision. If it is related to the outcome of an action or decision, then that moral philosophy I explained earlier, it is teleology. Option B, everyone should receive what is deserved. That is called justice, right? Option C asserts what is good derives from the action itself regardless of the outcome. If it does not consider the result and if it is only concerned about the decision or action, then that moral philosophy is called deontology. And option D denies the existence of universal moral principles. Here is our correct answer. Option D denies the existence of universal moral principle. It means that there is no universally right thing as such, or there is no universally wrong thing. It varies from person to person. It is entirely or purely relative. And that's how it got its name, relativism. Moving on to question number 4. Which branch of moral philosophy emphasizes the outcome of decision in terms of greatest good for the greatest number of people? See, utilitarianism is the concept that advocates if I take a decision or if I take an action that results in the greatest good for the greater number of people, then that decision or action is ethical. Says whom? Utilitarianism. So utilitarianism is the moral philosophy, and it advocates that when a decision or action is taken and that decision or action results in the greatest good for the greatest number of people, then that decision or action is ethical. So option A seems to be the right answer. And option B, teleology is not concerned about the greatest good for the greatest people. Yes, it is concerned with the good result. If it is concerned with the good result, if the result is good, then the decision is ethical. If the result is bad, then the decision is unethical, and that's what teleology advocates. Deontology doesn't have any connection with the result, it only concerns with the decision in itself. So option C, deontology, is also wrong. Option D, virtue ethics, what a virtuous person would have done in the same circumstances. If I have taken that decision, then such a decision is ethical. And the answer to question number 4 is option A, utilitarianism. Moving on to question number 5. How do teleology and utilitarianism differ? How do teleology and utilitarianism differ? Utilitarianism, greatest good for the greatest number of people, and teleology, if it brings in good result, then the decision is ethical. If it results in bad result, then the decision is unethical. As simple as that. Now let's get into the options. Option A, teleology focuses on the outcome in general, utilitarianism focuses on the greater good as an outcome. Option A seems to be the right answer. Now wait, let's see the other 3 options as well. Option B, teleology focuses on the outcome in general, and utilitarianism focuses on what a virtuous person would do. Utilitarianism is not focusing on what a virtuous person would do, that is virtue ethics. Right? And option C, teleology judges an action itself, and utilitarianism focuses on the greater good as an outcome. Yes, utilitarianism focuses on the greater good as an outcome, but look into the first part of that option. Teleology judges an action itself. It's not teleology, it's deontology that judges an action itself. So that is also wrong. Option D, teleology judges an action itself, and utilitarianism claims that decision cannot be judged because of differences in belief system. There are 2 things that is wrong in this option. It is not teleology that judges an action itself, it's deontology. And it's not utilitarianism, it's actually relativism that claims that decision cannot be judged because of differences in belief system, because it is purely relative. So that's the answer to question number 5, that is option A. Question number 6. Deontology and teleology are option A, same, B, similar but not same, option C, opposites, D, no relation to each other. Actually, deontology and teleology are opposite. Why it is opposite? Because teleology focuses on the results alone. If it is on good result, then it's ethical. If it is on bad result, then it is unethical. So teleology has its connection towards the result of the decision, and deontology doesn't consider the end result. It only considers the action itself, action or decision itself. So deontology and teleology are not same, is not similar, because they are the opposite. The right answer to this question is option number C, opposites. Question number 7. Due to an earthquake, residents of South Africa suffered severe destruction to their homes, office buildings, etc. United Nations urged the other countries to contribute their share to help the residents of South Africa and restore it back to their original condition. This is an example of option A, social justice, B, distributive justice, C, restorative justice, and D, retributive justice. Now let's understand what these options mean. Social justice means giving equal opportunity to everyone, equal educational opportunities, equal political opportunities, like that. And what do you mean by option B, distributive justice? The assets should be allocated equally among the society. So that's what you call distributive justice. And what do you mean by restorative justice? Restorative justice simply means that if someone has suffered any loss, any damage, then we all need to restorative justice, and any action or decision that leads to making good the loss can be considered as ethical, as per what? As per restorative justice. And what do you mean by option D, retributive justice? If someone has committed a crime or committed a mistake, then such a criminal or such a person who has done the mistake should be punished. That's what the retributive justice means. So here the case scenario is earthquake in South Africa, and United Nations urge the other countries to restore, to help them make good the loss. So option C, restorative justice, is the right answer. And let's move on to question number 8. What is good or right is derived from the action itself regardless of the consequences refers to which philosophy of ethics? What is good or right is derived from the action itself, that is deontology. Utilitarianism, what do you mean by utilitarianism? Greatest good for the greatest number of people. Relativism, entire thing is relative. One cannot say that that thing is completely right in the entire universe, or that thing is completely wrong in the entire universe. It varies from person to person, culture to culture, and that's what relativism means. Option C, teleology. Teleology is concerned with the end result, so it doesn't have any connection with the question. And option D, deontology. Deontology seems to be the right answer, so the right answer to this question is option D, deontology. And I hope this session has been fruitful to you, and I hope you understood crystal clear where you went wrong and why you went wrong. See, it's too much important to understand each and every concept in this theory section, because this theory section will help you a lot in the US CMA examination. And I will tell you one thing, whenever you see this theory question, within 2 to 3 seconds you will be able to identify the correct answer. And if you are able to identify the correct answer within that time frame, then you can save that time to do the problem questions, because the problem questions takes so much lot time, or so much more time than the theory questions. So you can take this time and put it there. So that's how you complement theory and problem together in the CMA examination. Just a tip. So that's it from this session. Let's meet in the next session with a new section topic, and happy learning. Thank you.